The government feeds you to your own logic. If your logic is poor, then the government will manage, regulate, and legislate your poor logic. You get fed to your own debased mind. To cultural conservatives, you can only meet corruption with authority, order, discipline from your community, or else you end up with a government that makes your problems worse. So here are some everyday examples. Should your society become virtuous, tolerant, and compassionate, and empathetic and sympathetic? Great. But what happens when those virtues are directed towards the wrong object or subject, like predators? Your government will manage, legislate, and regulate on behalf of protecting predators, not you. The government reflects what you have become as a social organism, subverted. Should your society become virtuous, tolerant, and compassionate? You want equal and equitable outcomes in the realm of love being love. If you put that on a progressive dial, it progresses into the realm of love with children, incrementally over time. The government will then legislate and regulate and manage laws that protect people that have sexual attractions to children. The government in this case reflects what you have become as a social organism, perverted. Should your society decide to accept the offer of free healthcare and education? Okay, but the trade-off is constitutional rights. That's weird. What if you accept the trade-off and you don't lead with the principle that government isn't moral? Someone is offering a Faustian deal under the guise of human rights. What happens next? You attracted the wolf. Now the wolf is in the chicken coop. The government now reflects what you gave it permission to be, a wolf. And you're the chicken in the chicken coop, who did not think it weird that someone was offering you human rights in exchange for rights that are God-given and inalienable. Should your society decide to accept the offer of abortion as healthcare? The government will reflect what you have become as a social organism. You fell for a eugenics program. It came to you under the guise of healthcare, but now your birth rates drop and the trade-off is opening your border, which indirectly makes your cost of living rise. Government will reflect a government that is replacing you because you're replacing yourself. The government, which has no morality, will not find this approach corrupt. Government is in the position of defending itself by saying, Americans took the offer. They accepted a eugenics program under the guise of healthcare. Government has no karmic debt to amass. Government won't attract punishment from the guy upstairs because consent was involved. Truth be told, some of these examples hit really close to home. If you apply the reason government was erected, its role, its function, then since it regulates, legislates, and manages the flaws of the citizenry, an argument can be made that somehow government is quite biblical. The way it functions intersects with biblical justice, where God delivers his children to their inventions and philosophies and standards when they decide to follow their science, their teachings, straying from his natural order and design. The divine power upstairs has stitched into the fabric of this natural world a law that if mankind erects government, the government mirrors mankind. Government is a way that God delivers nations to their debased minds. Why did countries become under communistic rule around the world? They gave their consent to the wolf that made promises of human rights. The wolf did not use tricks. It operated in plain sight. So the wolf is actually operating on a contract. He will offer you an offering, ask you to disarm yourself so you can get the offering. If you do it, the wolf's claim to the source upstairs is that you threw away your God-given rights. You don't want them. So now you belong to the wolf. That's justice. If and when a group like conservatives try to resist the wolf in this scenario by helping his victims see the Faustian deal he's made, the wolf has a right to attack the resistant class, like the conservative base. And the conservative base also gets attacked by the people who are the victims of the wolf because they actually want the wolf to lead them. They've consented to the wolf. So the lesson here is that if mankind is without corruption, government is less corrupt. You don't attract the wolf. And if the wolf comes and he makes a Faustian deal, you have to decline it. And when people around you don't, It's really not your job to convince them otherwise. It might be your job to debate for a little while, but when debating proves that it's not helping anything, you have to move away from the classes who consent to the wolf. If you apply what we're witnessing as a country to these ideas, cultural conservatives who are supposed to be the brakes on a train have actually attracted allies who see what government has become. It's cloaked itself in democracy. It's making Faustian deals that it will trade human rights for constitutional rights, but it was clever enough to make sure the American people consent and defend why the trade is good. God, the guy upstairs, to that point, is already judging America. Time was provided for those who wish to stay away from the wolf to distance themselves from those who consent to the wolf. If you haven't distanced yourself from the wolf, or those who consent to the wolf, in this scenario, God delivers people to their debased minds, and that means you get delivered with them because you handcuffed yourself to them. There is no earthly reason why a God will ever intervene on America's behalf if Americans handcuff themselves to states and provinces that take Faustian offers. They did it with their own free will. God intervenes when miracles are needed. If it's something Americans can do on their own, but they just won't do it, they'll get judged. And judgment will be in the form of delivering everyone to their own debased minds via government. Government is the living institution that delivers people to their own policies and philosophies that they invent. So from the perspective of a cultural conservative, nothing gets conserved by conservatives in our day and age. As a conservative myself, I'm gonna keep it real. We don't conserve because we are reactionary. We are not proactive. We identify the wolf, but we make no strides to separate ourselves from the wolf. Cultural conservatives keep themselves handcuffed to the wolf as they repeat how indivisible they are as a country. Mark these words. The biggest mistake cultural conservatives like myself make in this age is that we claim we resist the wolf and we echo how indivisible we are at the same time. For that, we are being judged right here, right now, in this age. The universe, the big guy upstairs, they have no reason to intervene on our behalf if we claim to be united with what we're trying to resist. We're being delivered to what we claim to be united with. Why don't conservatives conserve anything? Somewhere our minds were poisoned against separatism, which is what we need now more than ever. We may love the idea of a 50-state union more than we care about conserving America. By the end of it, we get governed by the wolf and we face persecution from the people who consent to the wolf.